Neocon Jews and Groypers, the new Horseshoe theory. The recent war in Iran, as of writing this, the tentative ceasefire is underway, has received a lot of criticism from various camps. The usual anti-war libertarian comedian types like Dave Smith and Jimmy Dore, who called Trump the peace president and had rallies swearing that Kamala would take us into World War III, seemingly ex-MAGA Republicans like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Fuentes and his Groyper crowd, but surprisingly, or not so surprising if one gets out of the weird formerly alt-right, whatever you want to call it, bubble, Jewish neocons as well have all joined in to criticize Trump's war of choice. Robert Kagan, Bill Kristol, David Frum, and others who in the past supported the Iraq War and historically have been quite hawkish on Iran have all criticized Trump's latest actions. Ironically, the very same people that these Jew obsessives always point to as cheerleading every war in the Middle East and how this is Iraq 2.0 are in fact more or less in total agreement with them. Obviously, the older boomer Jewish establishment types aren't praising Iran and wishing them success like some other right-wing freaks, but that is because rather than being nihilist weirdos, these old Jews actually have principles and have been consistent from the get-go. There has always been a contingent of never-Trump Republicans, including many of these types, and while some have moved away from that position like Ben Shapiro, many have not. But like Shapiro, we're lumped into all the old gas chamber memes the old alt-right would employ to make fun of Jews for opposing Trump's first presidential run. Ironically, Trump held all the same positions as he does now and backed by very similar people. He was pro-Israel, anti-Iran, backed by the Adelsons, etc., all from the beginning. Now the same people who made these edgy memes and defended Trump all the way until January 6th and beyond are crying foul over not only the recent war in Iran, but even his mannerisms, crass speech, Christian bona fides or lack thereof, etc., which have all been criticized by the never-Trump types. The crazy crowd of Tucker, Kundis, MGT, and other AF types are extremely late to the game, and clearly didn't care previously. This really exemplifies the actual difference in principles the two groups have, namely the total lack of any by the far-right crowd and the consistently held ones by the Jews. Kristol, Kagan, and others could easily forfeit their concerns over Trump's bombastic style and just shill for him because he has clearly been the most pro-Israel president in recent history, but they do the opposite. They clearly both care about the norms and institutions of this country more than what they might think is best for Israel, and even Kagan has criticized Israel before October 7th for abandoning the liberal international order that he seemingly values above and beyond Zionism, while calling Israel basically a subpar ally. Thomas Friedman has also made similar claims. Obviously, Jews criticizing Israel is nothing new, but it is striking that old-school neocons and pro-Israel liberals are shifting opinions on the matter. Solid criticisms of Trump can be made, especially from people who have been consistent and principled from the beginning, but they just ring hollow when it comes from people who flip-flop on him and don't even have the courage to blame themselves for voting Trump, but rather act as if they were betrayed. It is totally hypocritical for the whorish Marjorie Taylor Greene to accuse Trump of not being a Christian. It is totally vapid for someone like Nick Fuentes to call out Trump for being mean-spirited. And it's insane when Candace Owens calls for his impeachment for not being fit for office while she spouts off retarded conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory about Bridget Macron's genitals and Charlie Kirk's X-Men high school days. However, when never-Trumpers make these criticisms, they don't fall flat, because most of those people making the criticisms are not being hypocritical. Obviously, there is no rule that people have to be consistent or ever acknowledge their own wrongdoings, but one would be a bit more sympathetic to these types if they just had an ounce of introspection. Ironically, many of these former Trumpers who now call for his impeachment and meme about voting Newsom over Vance have more or less fallen in line with the basic bitch Rachel Maddow liberal voter, or in other words, the mean Jewish voter. Postscript, I'm too lazy to edit this in somehow, but Max Boot, also a well-known Iraq hawk in the past, another example of a Jewish neocon who changed his tune and definitely was not supporting this Iran incursion.